end of term assembly for Christmas, and I'm well aware it's the first one for Year 7, so welcome to you, Year 7, for your first whole school assembly. And sadly for Year 13, of course, it's your last Christmas whole school assembly, though you'll have one more at Easter. And actually this assembly has become part of the tradition of school life, part of that pattern of what we do every term and every year. And we're here in the archive today, and surrounding me are memories from the Royal Latin School over the last 100 years and longer. We're really lucky to have this amazing history, and you can see some of the uniform from previous days in front of me. And actually this archive represents our traditions and our history. It's amazingly maintained. We're really lucky to have Mrs. Beckett and Mr. Monday who come down and maintain the many different photographs and different artifacts that we have in the school site. And this term in particular, I want to just say a thank you to Mr. Monday, who is really not very well at all at the moment, and we are thinking of Mr. Monday and his family, all of whom are old Latins, have all come through this school since the 1960s onwards, so they're very much in our thoughts this Christmas. And when I look around this room, actually I think, as well as those traditions, I think of values, and that's a really important part of this school, and it always has been an important part of this school. Is the values that we hold stay with us for life as old Latins. So when you're in the school as students, but then when you move on into university or into apprenticeships or into jobs, the values that you have from this school are really important. And obviously at the moment, we talk about Latin learning, leadership, aspiration, innovation, teamwork and nurturing. Those values stand with you, I hope, for life. And when I was thinking about the last year, it's been the most strange of years for all of us. And when I think back over lockdown and think of the values that we have over lockdown, it's really made us reassess our values, I think. Particularly when you think back to the start of lockdown. What lots of us were valuing at the time, perhaps we'd taken for granted. I mean, there was that massive issue over toilet rolls. Everyone suddenly realised how much value a toilet roll had. But more meaningfully, perhaps, we looked at different jobs, and the bus drivers, the nurses, the cleaning staff, all of those people who do vital jobs for us, and we take those for granted at our peril. It's so important that we have those values and we value those people. More and more studies are being done on well-being, and there's a scientific study I was looking at recently that looked at what are the key aspects of well-being, and actually identified around 4 or 5 different areas: dignity, mental and physical health, good relationships and community, family, friends, local and national. So it brings us to Christmas and a time of year when values are really to the fore. One of the fundamental British values is mutual respect and tolerance. And I think that is one that we should all be thinking about over the Christmas period. What values are you sharing? How do you live the values that you hold? How do you behave towards your family? How are you behaving with your friends? What are you giving to that community? And it strikes me what matters, particularly at Christmas when we're thinking about giving gifts, is maybe not the cost of the gift, but the thought that goes behind it. And when you're giving your gifts, it's not, oh, this cost me a lot of money and therefore value it. It's what that means to the person who's receiving the gift. So maybe something to think about as you move into the Christmas period. And it's going to be a Christmas unlike any other that we've had. And I think it's about generosity is the key word that I want to leave you with today. How can you be generous? Not necessarily in the present that you give, but generous in your time, in your positivity, and maybe with a smile.
Hi all! Apologies in advance, I've been tasked with starting with a Christmas joke, so try to laugh, it'll make me feel much better about myself and my joke. So here goes. Why did the turkey cross the road? Because it was a chicken's day off. Yep. So now, with the formalities out of the way, I want to take the time to reflect a bit about 2020. Well, it certainly has been a year for the history books, as I'm sure you can all agree. But for us here, at the Royal Latin, it has been a time of growing closer together, even if it is from a distance and from behind masks. Whatever experiences you had in lockdown, I'm sure I can speak to most as I say that coming back to school, whether it was reuniting with friends, seeing teachers and not just hearing their voices, or settling back into a set routine, certainly was not the worst thing to happen in 2020. Yes, it may have been a little tricky to adjust to new classrooms, masks, timetables, and keeping hands clean, but I'm proud that the whole school, staff, and students are working together to ensure that everyone is safe to learn in an environment with their peers. This year, despite the challenges, has also had its fair share of exciting school events too. Virtual tours, 4 ball courts. I still don't understand the rules for that one. It must be a lower year thing. Online lectures, virtual Remembrance Day, Run the World, the building of our school campus, and the amazing collection for the Hygiene Bank are only a few of the highlights for this year. Now, as we look forward to the end of term and Christmas, it is so important to stick to the new guidelines. I won't repeat them for you. I'm no Boris after all. But it's never been more necessary to adhere to these rules, to keep yourself, your families, your friends safe for the new year. Let's hope that 2021 offers us a little bit more normality, although the new monoliths popping up everywhere doesn't exactly bode well, do they? That being said, I wish you all a happy holiday, however you celebrate it this year, and a happy and healthy new year.
Christmas. That time of year we all gather round to celebrate the only white person ever born in Syria. Now, it's traditional at this time of year I tell you my plans for the festive season. Not my actual plans, obviously. They largely involve watching Love Actually on repeat while I inhale boxes of celebrations. That's more of a cry for help than a speech at Christmas time, so I'll be relaying a slightly stylised version of my Christmas plans. My December the 25th is probably similar to most of yours. I'll be awoken at some unearthly hour and stagger downstairs to pretend to be surprised at all the Christmas presents I've ordered. After that, we'll go to church for the morning service before returning home in time for Christmas lunch. Now, tragically, it's also traditional at this time of year for me to tell you all a Christmas cracker joke, so brace yourselves. What is Dominic Cummings' favourite Christmas song? Driving Home for Christmas. I did warn you. After lunch, we'll all sit down for a speech by Head of State and Olivia Colman's stunt double, Her Majesty the Queen, before filling the rest of the day with board games and Gavin and Stacey reruns. If there are any positives that can be extracted from this steaming carcass of a year, maybe it's that this festive season will take the smaller things a little bit less for granted. Maybe after having to do without for so long, spending time with our parents, grandparents, siblings will mean that little bit more. On behalf of everyone in the senior student leadership team and myself, I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi guys! First of all, Merry Christmas! Thank you so much for following all the COVID regulations, for staying safe and for working so hard. Despite everything that's happened this year, we've accomplished so much, such as the Hygiene Bank donations, which is really lovely to see. This year might be different, but for me, a lot of my traditions are going to stay the same. I'm still going to wake up on Christmas morning, run downstairs and open my first present, which is usually a book, I can't lie. Then I'll probably eat while reading my new book. Then I'll go and help my mum with the cooking, except I can't really cook, so I'll probably just, be a taste tester, just hover around a bit. Then we usually have the classics, so we'll have the turkey, the roast potatoes, the mince pies, but we'll also have some other foods thrown in there. We'll have some jollof rice, Nigerian of course, suya, fried rice and super malt. We'll watch a family film, we'll play Monopoly where my dad always wins, and then we'll maybe eat a bit more and watch all the Christmas specials on TV whilst trying to stay awake from all the overeating. Having the privilege of spending Christmas with the people I love and with so much in abundance is something that I'm really aware of, especially this year. Buying presents and giving them back to our church, who distribute them to those in need every year, like the hygiene bank that you contributed to, really puts into perspective just how lucky we are. Just because we aren't in school, that doesn't mean that you're going to miss out on our annual Christmas jokes. And I'm going to warn you, mine aren't going to be great, but if I had to sit through them, then so do you. So, why couldn't the skeleton go to the Christmas party? Because he had nobody to go with. I can already hear the laughs, wow. Okay, who's Rudolph's favourite pop star? Beyonce. Because, okay. And who is Santa's favourite pop star? It's only Elvis Presley. You thought it was over, but it wasn't. It was a 2-part joke. And finally, who is going to be dressed in red and delivering presents to all the children this year? It's only Marcus Rashford. It's been an interesting year to say the least, but a time to realise what really matters and what doesn't. Have a safe and Merry Christmas, and I hope to see you all next year.
So this is Christmas, as John Lennon would say, and I'm sure for some of you, you're glad it's another year over. But I would just say try and stay positive. I mean, I know saying I'm positive nowadays is a very risky move, but use Christmas as a time for normality, maybe a sense of tradition, in what can only be described as a very, very strange year. I mean, who'd have thought at the start of 2020 that we'd be wearing masks going to the shops, having lessons in lockdown, and having to hear the name Chris Whitty every single day. But, so for me, Christmas is a time of tradition. It's time for you to do your normal routine, to do what you do every single year. And for me, that's eating way too many Quality Streets, listening to Last Christmas on endless repeat, and then watching Die Hard and Die Hard 2. Because only then can you really realise how unlucky that man is. Now, I could go on, there's lots of parts to my Christmas, but I thought this year I'd give you guys the chance. And I said, just write in, give some suggestions, and I would read them out and maybe let everyone know what certain people do at Christmas. Now, these are all anonymous, but I think it will be nice for us just to hear what the school community does. So it says here, Christmas, I have to read the handwriting. Christmas is a time of year to hang decorations and sing songs with the family. I mean, that's quite nice. My favourite thing about Christmas is playing board games. I mean, who doesn't? What's this? My favourite thing about Christmas is letting my parents buy me something I've wanted all year without having to spend a penny. Very good way of looking at it. Christmas is my happy place, Turf Moor, happy place. I think there's a Burnley fan out there. Boris Johnson can go. Okay then, I think we've reached the end of your send-in, so I think maybe I'll stop talking as well. I think there's only one way of ending this Christmas speech, and it's in the immortal words of Kevin McAllister. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year.
Hi everyone, Annie from Green Touch here. First of all, I'm sure you know what Green Touch does, but if you don't, it's our school's environmental group, and there have been lots of things going on this year to make our school as environmentally friendly as possible. One of Green Touch's first ever missions was to change our waste company after finding out that our recycling was going straight into landfill, not being recycled properly. This year we've been therefore working on what's actually going into the bins by having lots of meetings with Innovate. We've changed the wrappers and the bottles in the canteen to make them more sustainable, and we're trying to push for students to use the correct bins to help reduce the 230 million tonnes of UK waste that goes into landfill each year. In addition to this, we've planted £1,000 worth of trees, funded by a Mufti Day, which we hope will increase the levels of biodiversity in our local area. If you'd like to get involved next term, then please email Miss Mason or any one of your Green Touch classmates. This year especially, the almost irreversible state of our planet has been brought to the forefront of people's minds. Ensuring access to clean air and water is essential to the protection of all health risks. The World Health Organization estimates that these avoidable environmental problems are responsible for around a quarter of the global health burden. Over 90% of the world's population lives in a place where outdoor air quality guidelines are not met, and around 80% of the world's population is already experiencing some level of water scarcity. As we all know, access to safe water and sanitation is essential for communities to practice basic hygiene, and the reduction of transmissions of COVID-19. COVID-19 has also led to an increase in the use of plastic. Despite lockdowns earlier this year helping carbon emissions fall by 17%, the overall effect of CO2 concentrations has been very small. Face masks are obviously essential, but disposable face masks take an estimated 450 years to decompose, and 75% of them end up in landfill or in the oceans. Animals such as sea turtles mistake masks for jellyfish, their main source of food, and normally die after eating them. If you have to use a disposable mask, it is essential to cut the straps before you throw them away to stop the risk of an animal being trapped. COVID has also led to more people using plastic bags as a cover for fruit and vegetables. However, it has been reported that the virus can remain viable for up to 72 hours on plastic, but only 24 hours on cardboard, the more sustainable option. Over Christmas and New Year, we should remain aware of the responsibilities that we have towards our environment. Goals that we should all be working towards, such as cutting down on eating meat, avoiding unnecessary travel, planting trees and recycling, should still be our priority. As a school community, we will continue working towards our environmental goals, and we hope that you can get involved. Time is running out to save our planet. This is our future and our responsibility.
Okay, so we come to the end of the assembly. Don't let Mr. Farrell tell you he's got the best Christmas jumper, because my Aston Villa Christmas jumper is the best, just saying. But listen, I wanted to say to everyone, thank you for what you've done this year, this term in particular. You've been absolutely amazing, and that is students and staff across the whole school. You've been absolutely amazing. We've come through this whole term really, really well. I'm so proud of you, and you've done a brilliant job. So you deserve an amazing Christmas. I hope you have a really good time. Be careful and be generous.